It's now time for us to bring you updates on trending now with Olamide Odekune. Olamide, good to see you on the other side.
Good morning again, Ibrahim. I see you're a lone wolf, but you're making it work. You're doing a good job.
Absolutely, as well as you.
We've got a lot to get into this morning. It's a two-man show. Let's see what we have. Good morning, Nigeria. Like I always say, TVC has a finger on the pulse and our eyes on the streets. And here on the Trending Now segment, my team and I, in this case, Ibrahim and I, do our best to bring you the trending stories that are shaping the world that you and I live in. We begin today with this submission, where the Edo State lawmaker Natasha Irobosa is trending online for the wrong reasons after a video of a heated exchange with her husband, Innocent Two-Face Idibia, recently surfaced online. Now, the State House of Assembly's Ethics in Edo State and Privileges Committee has now summoned her to explain her conduct. The Speaker, Blessing Agbegbaku, noted that her actions have dragged the House's reputation into the mud, stressing that members are expected to conduct themselves responsibly. The Speaker added that the Assembly is made up of educated, capable lawmakers whose integrity should not be overshadowed by one member's misconduct. The committee is expected to submit its findings within 2 weeks as Nigerians follow the case closely. Unfortunately, once again, we find marriage being a spectacle in Nigerian society and indeed politics. Let's take a look at social media. She's being summoned by the House on domestic matters. Air to Africa says, both Two-Face and Natasha should keep everything under wraps. I don't expect them to be doing anything questionable in public. These are adults who have been in several failed relationships and should have learned from it. Fair point. And A. Adebanji had this to say. He says, I've been expecting this invite, honestly. A whole honorable elected to represent an entire constituency should not be acting that way in public. There's a certain level of decorum, responsibility, and emotional control expected from someone occupying such an important office. Leadership is not just about holding a title, it's about setting an example. Ibrahim, a lot of people will question, why do we follow cases like this? Why do we talk about marriage, on the world news stage? This person is a lawmaker. There's a certain code of conduct that's being expected of her. And unfortunately, she's found herself in some online brouhaha that is unbecoming of a lawmaker. The Edo State House of Assembly has now intervened, and they're now saying, don't stain our white. This behavior is unacceptable. Was this necessary in your opinion?
That is one thing. Some people will say, how does it concern the Edo State House of Representatives? House of Assembly. So much so that they believe that she's one of them, and then whatever she does is actually putting Nigeria, not just the state, but Nigeria, in painting Nigeria in a bad light. They are both adults. Natasha, Two-Face, when they met themselves, no one was there. When Two-Face also visited, the Edo State House of Assembly, we didn't know how they planned it, but then he went there and then he made the news. Now they were, I think this thing happened when they're outside of the country, and then now they're back in the country and they're having issues back and forth. It has always been the problem. When you like something too much, when you do something too much, you actually fall into the hand of someone who is going to, show you the big thing. Because somebody was asking me the question yesterday: is this lady truly a rep? Is she representing the people of her constituency? Why is it that she is now enmeshed in controversies, things that you do not expect a woman of that pedestal to be involved in? But the problem is the Edo State House of Assembly has invited her to come and probably give her own account of her stewardship, maybe not just to the constituents, but then to how she's running affairs with Two-Face Idibia. But I'm so disappointed with what is happening between herself and Two-Face, and now Two-Face got himself, wriggled in that problem. I really, really don't know how to.
Now this might be very controversial for me to say, but if I can't trust you, with a relationship like marriage, I can't trust you to build policy for me. I can't trust you with the affairs of the nation. So this is I think it's a step in the right direction by the Edo State House of Assembly. Yeah. What is this trend with lawmakers? We've seen Ned Nwoko, now we're seeing Natasha Irobosa. What is it that they can't seem to get their own personal houses in order? There must surely be laws and bills to be passed.
Leadership is it's a serious thing. You can't just call yourself a leader, you can't call yourself a rep or doing anything on behalf of the rest of the citizenry, and then you are found culpable, doing some things that are quite irresponsible, irresponsible acts, not representing people the right way it should be done, and all of that. But, everyone needs therapy, as Two-Face's manager had said, that Two-Face needs therapy. Natasha needs therapy. He himself, that he was Two-Face's manager, also needs therapy because of the kind of abuses, going through. But all the same, we should be able to separate her personal affairs with Two-Face Idibia as well as a role as a member of the Edo State House of Assembly.
Ibrahim, I'm going to disagree. I think it's this case of separating the art from this artist. It's impossible to do. But thank you for your input. Moving on, still in some politics, but this is a bit funny. Now, the Akwa Ibom State House of Assembly has rejected a motion seeking to stop the consumption and the sale of dog meat in the state. Now, this bill was sponsored by the member representing Etinan State constituency, Honorable Uduak Ekwofort, who raised concerns about the cruel methods used in slaughtering dogs and the public health risks that are actually associated with eating poorly processed dog meat. He warned that dog meat can actually expose consumers to dangerous infections, including rabies and other parasites, and noted that several countries have banned the practice for safety reasons. But during plenary, people were not having it. The motion failed to advance as it received no seconder, with all lawmakers remaining silent. The Speaker then ruled the motion rejected. So for now, as it stands, Akwa Ibom State maintains the status quo on dog meat consumption, despite the sponsor's call for improved public health standards and the humane treatment of animals. This is good news for my 404 meat lovers, I guess. Let's take a look at social media. Eddie Franklin said, wait, when I really dey chop dog, I've been thinking say na play. Eddie Khan Samson says, he want to form New York lawmaker. So wetin happen to the chicken, the goats, and the cow wey they always chop? Just ban all the meat, let us rest. And finally, Presido says, people shouldn't vote for him in the next election. I don't understand why they're attacking our culture these days. First, the government banned Ekpo, and now they want to ban the almighty 404. Anyway, 2027 is just around the corner. A local dog is not a pet, I beg. Local dogs, Ibrahim, they're often called ekuke. That's what they call them. And, there's not a lot of value that's placed on their life in Nigeria. Now, one user on social media did point out that this is an attack on our culture. You can't be banning local foods. However, where do we draw the line and where do we say culture is dangerous? There are many public health risks and risk of infection and parasites associated with consuming dog meat, and yet people continue to eat dog meat. On the other hand, whether we like it or not, Nigeria is in a food crisis. People are struggling to even afford meat. So if I see a local dog on my street, what's stopping me from chopping that meat up and eating it?
Oh my God, Olamide, are you being real for now? Because one thing I've always heard about dogs is that they say dogs are human friend. Yeah, dogs are the best friend to man. And why would you eat? Dog is like eating your best friend. It's like cannibalizing on your best friend. It's like this lawmaker is saying that there is time for us to take 404 off the menu because of the kind of ailments that people get from it. Because if you look at carnivores actually host, some of these worms. I know there is a Taena saginata,
yes,
and Taena solium. I think the Taena saginata is the one that is tapeworm, which is very, very difficult when to remove from your body. The same thing you also get from pork. That is the reason it is very, very dangerous to eat carnivores. But eating dog, I don't know, it beats my imagination. What do people find interesting about dog, eating dogs?
Fun fact, Ibrahim, I actually heard that dog meat is not even very tender. It's very hard and it's very tough because those dogs have suffered a lot in their life. It's not even soft, so I don't understand the motivation.
I think there should be justice for dogs. There should be justice. The dogs, they need to go on a protest now against people who hit them.
Justice for Ekuke.
If you go to some parts of Southwest, for Southwest, I think they call it Okili, somewhere in Ondo State. I know they also eat dog somewhere in Mile 12. I've seen places where they kill, they slaughter prepared dogs and people, enjoy over maybe some drinks and all of that. But I think it's a very, very bad habit to be eating your friend.
And a lot of times, food habits that we find in our culture are not always necessarily rooted in the fact that it's our culture.
Yeah.
It's rooted in, it came from a place of lack.
Yeah.
When we look at when Calabar started eating dog meat, or even Vietnam, it was in the heat of a food crisis. People could not have access to premium beef or premium slaughter animals, and so they resorted to dog meat. This is poverty, not culture, if you ask me.
Yeah. Yeah.
But thank you so much.
People need to watch their voracious appetite. Some people actually eat ants. They eat they eat roaches. During the World War, but no one is actually, you just have to eat right. That's the best thing to do.
Absolutely. Very interesting. Thank you so much, Ibrahim. Moving on, I've got some bad news for party goers watching. Billionaire philanthropist Tony Elumelu has officially cancelled his annual all-white Christmas party in honor of the 6 staff members who died in the Afriland Towers fire earlier this September. Now, the December event, known for attracting top celebrities and business leaders, is usually a major highlight of the Lagos social calendar. But in a message shared on Instagram, Tony Elumelu and his wife, Dr. Awele Elumelu, said that this year's festivities will be replaced with a period of remembrance and support for the families of the victims of the Afriland Tower fire. Now, this decision has been widely praised online for its compassion, as the couple says that their popular party will return next year. But for now, their focus is on honor, healing, and standing with the bereaved families. This is corporate empathy, if you ask me. He's reading the room, and we love a benevolent and an empathetic billionaire philanthropist. Let's take a look at social media. Atoba Jai says, if it's truly to honor them and not about cutting costs, then the money for that event should be given to their families. And Okocha CFC says, lives gone because safety was treated as optional. Honoring them is beautiful, but measures should be put in place so it will not have to repeat itself again. Ibrahim, this was very sad. Earlier on this year, people lost their lives in the Afriland Towers. I believe it was 8 or 9 people. I'm not too sure. But oftentimes, when there's a loss of lives like this, the world rarely ever stops. We grieve for a moment, but then we continue with our lives like nothing happened. I really appreciate the fact that Tony Elumelu is extending this moment of silence down even into the festive period, and he's taking the grieving families into account. I think this was very compassionate, but I know a lot of people are disappointed because that party is a gang party. Even me, I had my white ready, but it's a very honorable move.
Absolutely. I had some of my colleagues here, taunting one of our colleagues who has always attended the party like, or B, you're not going there this year. I think some reports actually quoted 10 lives lost at the Afriland Global Towers, and it's so good, very good gesture, for the Elumelu family to cancel the white party for this year in honor of those who lost their lives, members of their staff. I also agree with the Twitterati, those who said that the monies, whatever it is, that they should also devote some to the family. But you can't tell a billionaire how to spend his money. They can decide to marry with the families with the bereaved, or they can decide to also do some other things. They might have done some things maybe that we didn't know of. They can also, one way or the other, invite the family to their homes, marry with them, make them happy, do one thing or the other. But all the same, I think it's a very good gesture that they had to cancel, this white party. There is always another year to celebrate. So we pray that God respite us beyond many years.
I believe that what Mr. Tony Elumelu has demonstrated here is what I like to call corporate consciousness.
That's right.
This consciousness that despite you being a billionaire and despite you having immunity to certain things, you still hold compassion and space for the communities in which you lead. Very, very important. Thank you so much, Ibrahim. Yeah. Moving on to some social media news, where the Deputy Secretary General of the United Nations, Amina Mohammed, is trending this morning after her comments on the crisis in Gaza triggered a wave of backlash from Nigerians online. In a post that was shared on X, formerly Twitter, Mohammed expressed sympathy for civilians in Gaza, saying that the situation over there shows that there is no moral compass in the conflict, while calling for peace and justice for the affected people in Gaza. But Nigerians on X were not having it. Within minutes, her comment section was flooded with responses questioning her priorities, and many people argued that while global solidarity is important, she should also speak more forcefully about the violence, the terrorism, and the humanitarian suffering happening back home here in Nigeria, especially in communities that are still grappling with attacks and mass displacement every day. For critics, the message was simple. They're telling Amina J. Mohammed, don't forget Nigeria, even though you're advocating for the world. Of course, this conversation has since grown into a wider debate about whether Nigerian public figures in global roles should balance international advocacy with the realities of insecurity at home. Very interesting. I'm a fan of Miss Amina J. Mohammed, but the people have spoken. Let's take a look at social media. This is the tweet that got her in trouble. She tweeted, "We have lost our moral compass in Gaza. Let's find it again through peace and justice. And let us uphold the right of the Palestinian people to live in dignity and freedom. Hashtag Palestine Day." And then, of course, some comments here. Dr. Emma Okore says, there's a gas explosion in your backyard, but you're more concerned about the smoke in another person's compound? Tweet about the insecurity in Nigeria. Hold the government accountable for the safety of lives and properties. Ooh. And Abode says, what I honestly don't understand is how some people can be so vocal about injustice abroad, yet remain silent about the violence and suffering happening right at home. It feels like many choose the causes that fit their narrative while ignoring the tragedies that are affecting their fellow citizens. It's hard to talk about moral compass when we condemn oppression in one place, but look away from the killings and persecution happening in our own communities. Advocacy should be consistent. Compassion shouldn't stop at borders or only apply when it's convenient. If we truly care about justice and human dignity, then every life should matter, whether in Gaza or right here in Nigeria. It's very important to read the room. Right now, Nigeria is facing an insecurity crisis, the likes of which we have never seen before. We still have families mourning. We still have threats looming from the USA, to invade us. We have a minister of state, a new minister of defense. And so right now, everything is very tense surrounding the topic of insecurity. And for her to tweet about Gaza, smack as all this is happening, it felt a bit tone deaf to some people online.
Something. Amina Mohammed is a Deputy General of the Deputy Secretary General of the United Nations. So she's not speaking as Amina Mohammed. She's speaking in a capacity as the Deputy Secretary General of the United Nations. She's speaking for many countries, more than 190 countries on the surface of this earth. And for that kind of statement to come from the United Nations, it shows that she's very responsible and she sees what is happening. See, humankind, we are one but one nation. Whether you are American, whether you are British, whether you are French, whether you are Togolese, you're Nigerian, we are one but one nation. We only have different races just for us to recognize ourselves where you're from. So whatever injustice is happening, even in your own backyard, in your own room, is similar to what is happening far north or down south or wherever it is. So we should be able to speak as one indivisible whole, regardless of faith, creed, religion, or anything. We see what is happening in Gaza. Yes, we understand that Nigeria also has a problem. We have, very, very serious problems in our hands. But if you look at what is happening in Gaza, it's on a scale that we cannot, compare to what is happening in modern world, as we've seen. More than 60,000 people have been killed. More than 20,000 children have been killed, and we've seen genocide being live streamed on our TVs, hear this on our radio, on the internet, and people are, blaming someone for speaking up against the injustice, the genocide, the irresponsibility done by IPAC, talk about the American-Israel Public Affairs Committee, all of the money that they devote into this war. And this same America is also shouting about Christian genocide in Nigeria, whereas many Christians have been killed in Gaza. Many churches have been destroyed. Many people have been displaced, and we still see the piece of the graveyard, being handed down to them by Donald Trump. At the same time, we still see that Israel consistently bombed them, sodomized their men, on and on. So we need to speak about the injustice, not just in Gaza, not just in Nigeria, not just in Somalia, not just in Sudan. We have to speak as one human race. That's
Absolutely. And Ibrahim, very important contextualization that you raised there. She's speaking for the United Nations, not a single nation. And whether from Gaza to Gombe or Palestine to Port Harcourt, insecurity is insecurity, and we must all lend our voice as one. Thank you so much.